Hey, Shalom, Akim, Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us his truth and that's still teaching his truth. And much peace, love, and salutation to the elect, beginning with 144,000, all the way down to the large multitude that believes in who the Lord will deliver in these last days. To you all I say Shalom. I'm the brother Tazamah from the Great Millstone Dallas camp, coming back today with another lesson. And Lord willing, today this lesson will be edifying and to the point. And I want to do a lesson today going in on, Esther, the 8th chapter, the 17th verse. There's been a series of videos that's been done beginning with the apostles, all the way down to the bishops, elders, and other brothers like myself that have been doing lessons on the video that Vocab Malone did, where he was pretty much doing commentary on another. He was doing commentary on a video where WFI was approached by Pastor David Lynn, and this scripture Esther 8 and 17 came out. And like I said, this video, this particular verse was brought out, to the individuals at Wi-Fi. We call them Wi-Fi, but it's really Watchmen for Israel. We call them Wi-Fi, and they didn't know how to break it down. And really, Vocab Malone and Sam Miguel and David Lynn, and they feel like this is the golden scripture. This is the golden scripture, the golden ticket to cut the Hebrew Israelite. But they don't even understand the fact of what Esther 8 and 17 really even means. And it's funny how these Christians, now they're trying to go to the Old Testament to prove that. Now they're trying to go to the Old Testament to try to prove the fact that the heathen can be joined, the actual physical heathen can be joined and call themselves Jews. Or there's no way that somebody could be a Moabite, an Edomite, a Hamite, Elamite, so on and so forth, and then all of a sudden they can just become an Israelite. It don't work that way. You're an Israelite by nationality. You're an Israelite, going back to the sons of Jacob, or the being of the two sons of Joseph, which Joseph was a son of Jacob. Okay, that's the only way that you could be a Hebrew Israelite. That's what Jacob's name was changed to Israel. Okay, so I have a few precepts lined up on this Esther 8 and 17, because really what the Esther 8 and 17, when it says that that the nations round about became Jews for fear of the Jews, was due to the fact of how it's kind of like a prelude to a sense of how we're going to be in the kingdom, where all nations are going to have to come to us to learn our ways. And if they don't learn our ways, they're going to be beaten to subjection. As the scriptures talk about how we shall rule over our enemies with a rod of iron, man. In the book of Revelation, it goes into that. Okay, and I have a few other precepts lined up, but this is Esther chapter 8. I'm gonna start here at verse 15. Now, mind you, this is after Haman, Haman the Agagite, okay, which he was an Edomite that was pretty much had a ploy out to try to exterminate the whole nation of Israel. You see, but this is after Haman got Haman, him, his family, his sons, the Edomites, they got hung on the gallows. This is after this. You see, they don't like to go into that. They don't like to go into the fact that happened. So this is Esther chapter 8, verse 15. It says, and Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel of blue and white, and with a great crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen and purple. And the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. The Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor. See, because there was a point to whereas, like I said, our people thought that they were going to be completely annihilated. They thought that, Haman was going to be able to fulfill the enterprise of cutting us off as being a nation. You see, and that goes back to that perpetual hatred that Esau has for the nation of Israel. You see, and the Lord came through. The Lord lifted up a standard in that time, and he literally reversed it to whereas it fell upon Haman. You see. Verse 17, it says, and in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness. Right now, the Jews here, all right, it's talking about the actual Israelites, predominantly the southern kingdom, because this is during the time of our return back into Jerusalem after the Babylonian exile. So the northern tribes wasn't there. All right, but this is collectively talking about the southern kingdom here. Okay, so when you get that word Jews, all right, that word Jews is Yahawadiah. Okay, Yahawadiah. Like I said, Elder Apostle Tahar went through and broke this down already. But you have here in the actual context, you have La Yahawadiam. You see, which makes that plural. Okay, it's just talking about what? The Jew. It says Jew, and it goes back to Yahawada, which is what? Goes back to the tribe of Judah. That's where somebody says, oh, I'm a Jew. Really, to be a Jew means that you go back to the tribe of Judah. That's what that really means. You see? So going back to the verse, it says, and in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a great day. And many of the people of the land became Jews. Now, when you get this word Jews here, that word is Yahad. And in the context, it actually says Mathatha Yahadium. All right, Matha Yahadium. That many people of the land, they became Jews. Matha Yahadium. All right, so you have Yahad. All right, and it says to become a Jew, in fact or in fraud, become Judaized. Okay, to become Judaized. All right, so when you become Judaized, like John Hyrcanus, all right, what happened? He had the Edomites. You had the Edomites during the time whenever John Hyrcanus was on the scene, as an example, where he actually Judaized the Edomites. He made them become circumcised. They had to follow the laws. You even had Edomites that was fighting. You even had Edomites that was fighting on the side of the Jews during the time of the fall of 70 AD, 66 to 70 AD. You had Edomites that was fighting alongside the Jews, man. So the many people of the land, they became Judaized, meaning that what? They did not become Israelites. They wasn't Israelites, but they had to follow our ways. That's what it means to become Judaized. You see? Now you have proselytes, like for example in the book of Acts, the 2nd chapter, who were Israelites, okay, that were scattered in these various different lands, all right, who became proselytes that were newly coming to the faith, and they began to follow after the ways of the heritage that we once lost. But here in this context, this is actually talking about the actual heathen. To Judaize, become Jewish, which Jewish doesn't exist. All right, Jewish doesn't exist. Now, when you get the definition of Judaize, all right, it says make Jewish, which, like I said, it doesn't exist. It says convert to Judaism. You see, they were converted. Okay, does that mean that they were a part of the covenant and things of that nature? No, that's not what that means. Okay, and this is a small prelude to how it's going to be. This is a small prelude to how it's going to be in the kingdom of heaven. Acts the 2nd, Isaiah the 2nd chapter, where it says that the heathen are going to have to come up to Jerusalem to learn the law. You know, Zechariah the 14th chapter. If anybody doesn't come up to Jerusalem to worship the Lord during the Feast of Tabernacles, you know, no rain is going to come upon them. You see, we're going to be the head. We're going to be the head, and the nations beneath us are going to be the tail. So it's to a degree. I mean, the scripture says, "In the day of thy power, thy people shall be willing." You know, but even you could even think about it like in the stance of in the day of thy power, the nations are going to be willing too. You know, 144 call hello Yahweh Shema Shai. You know, they're going to be willing too, due to the great power that Yahweh Shema Shai is going to give unto us, man. You see, so you can't try to use Esther 8 and 17, okay, as a golden ticket scripture to try to now prove in the Old Testament, by the way, because they was always saying all that. Well, the Old Testament is the covenant between it's the covenant strictly between Israel, the Most High God, and Israel. So how come now you're trying to go to the Old Testament trying to make your point? You sound like a bunch of hypocrites now. You see? Let's do this real quick. I'm just curious. Let's do this real quick. I'm curious. Let's go here. Now this is Chat GPT. Let's check this out. Did John Hyrcanus. I'm probably spelled this wrong, but it's okay. That John Hyrcanus Judaized. How do you spell that again? Let me see. Salakia. My bad. My spelling ain't the greatest. Hold on. Juda. That's what it is. Judaize. The Edomites. Let's see what ChatGPT says. Let's just see. I'm curious. I never looked it up. Okay, let's take a look here. It says yes. John Hyrcanus, the Hasmonean ruler of Judea from approximately 134 to 104 BCE, did indeed Judaize the Edomites. Around 125 BCE, Hyrcanus conquered the region of Idumea, which was inhabited by the Edomites. He offered the Edomites a choice to convert to Judaism, including circumcision and adherence to Jewish law, or to leave the area. Now, just because the Edomites were Judaized, and we got the definition of Judaize, what? They had to adhere, all right? They had to adhere to what? Specifically circumcision, as well as adherence to Jewish law, which Jewish doesn't exist. They had to adhere to the law, right? And either A, they could do that and stay, or they had to leave. It says many Edomites chose to convert rather than face expulsion, effectively integrating them into Jewish population. Does that mean that they became Israelites? The answer is no. Does that mean that they entered into the covenant that was given from the Most High all the way down unto Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, you know, delivered by Moses to the 12 tribes? No. This forced conversion is one of the earliest known instances of a ruler forcing a population to adopt a new religion, and marked a significant step in expansion of Jewish influence in the region. Mind you, this is going to be forcefully done in the kingdom. This will be forcefully implemented in the kingdom. You're not going to have no heathen nations round about that's not going to adhere to the law, statutes, and commandments. The heathen are going to be compelled to follow the law. With them being compelled to follow the law, it's going to cause they're going to be feared. When I say they're going to be feared, what I mean is that let me word it like this: not they are going to be feared, but I was going to say pretty much the heathen are going to be made fearful if they don't adhere to the law. By what? By fear of the Jews, by fear of the Israelites. You see, the Lord gonna give us power. You see, in that time when He gives us power, when He makes us immortal, you damn straight, you damn right. The heathen gonna be the heathen are gonna fear, man. You see? So let's read that again. It says this forced conversion, forced. That's the key word here. You got forced, compelled. You see, this forced conversion is one of the earliest known instances of a ruler compelling a population to adopt a new religion, and marked a significant step in expansion of Jewish influence in the region. It also had long-term consequences for Jewish history, as the descendants of the converted Edomites, who are some of those descendants of the converted Edomites? Antipater the Idumean, which Antipater the Idumean is the father, all right, of Herod, the Herodian dynasty. He's the progenitor of the Herodian dynasty. You see, that's why whenever you had Herod come on the scene, which Herod was an Edomite. Why? That's why they were following the customs of what he was called, what, King of the Jews. You see, because when you go into their history, Antipater down the line was actually a very high level official, to the point where he undermined the Hasmonean dynasty, and he pretty much became the sole decision maker, for lack of better words. That's how he got up in there. When you go into the history of Antipater the Idumean, you see, it also had long-term consequences for Jewish history, as the descendants of the converted Edomites became a part of the Judean society, including figures like Herod the Great, who was of Idumean descent. So how the hell were the Edomites done away during the time of Maccabees, when it clearly tells you that Herod was of Idumean descent, because he was an Edomite, man. You see, that's another lesson for another day. I want to stick to the point. All right. So that's what it means that many people of the land became Jews. Okay, they were forcefully compelled to adhere to the law, and it's going to be the very same way in the kingdom of heaven, man. Ain't shit changing, man. You're not gonna find no golden nugget scripture that's gonna fit your that's gonna tickle your fancy, for lack of better words, man. You know, because vocab Malone was extremely swagged up. You see, we found the golden scripture. We got the golden ticket. No, you didn't. You just don't understand what the scriptures is talking about. Just like you rest all the other scriptures. That's all that is. All right. Now let's go to Esther the 9th chapter real quick. This is Esther chapter 9. Excuse me. Esther chapter 9, verse 1. It says, now in the 12th month, that is the month Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution. Now, what was the king's commandment? The king's commandment was that all lands and all nations in all provinces had to what? Had to adhere. You see? Let's read this in the NLT. It says, so on March 7th, the two decrees of the king were put into effect, right? The two decrees of the king were put into effect. It says, on that day, the enemies of the Jews had hoped to overpower them, right? And who was our main enemy at this time? The Edomites, specifically Haman, which Haman was second in command underneath Ahasuerus, right? It says, on that day, the enemies of the Jews had hoped to overpower them, but quite the opposite happened. You see, the Lord lifted up a standard, and that same wicked device of what Haman looked to do to us happened to him. You see, and his family and his descendants. It was the Jews who overpowered their enemies. You see that? Verse 2. The Jews gathered in their cities throughout all the king's provinces to attack anyone who tried to harm them. Let's read that again. The Jews gathered in their cities throughout all the king's provinces to attack anyone who tried to harm them. Right? But no one could make a stand against them, for everyone was afraid of them. Everybody of the land was afraid of them. You see, all of the nobles of the provinces, the highest officers, the governors, and the royal officials helped the Jews for fear of who? Fear of Mordecai. See, Mordecai was really the main character of the story. Esther, which her real name was man, what was her real name? It means Lily. I want to say it starts with an S. What was her real name? It's in the first chapter, I believe. Damn, what was Esther's real name? It starts with an S, if I'm not mistaken. I could probably do it like this. Hadassah, that's what it is. Salakia. You know, Esther was pretty much one of the king's harem. You know, or not king's harem, excuse me. Because you had what's called a harem, that a king would have a harem where he would have a separate house where his different women and his concubines would stay. You know, but Esther became the queen. You know, after Vashti, believe her name was, pretty much disrespected King Ahasuerus, Esther pretty much came up in the ranks. You know, she became the queen. But Mordecai was like a father to Esther, but he was really like her uncle. You know, but Mordecai was high up. He was high up in there, man. You see, kind of very similar to Joseph being exalted, very similar to Daniel being exalted. You know, because Esther pretty much was able to get into the king's ear. You know what I'm saying? To allow Mordecai to talk to him. And Mordecai got exalted up here, and he was pretty much second in command, man. You see? But all the nations round about could not stand up to us due to what? Due to the fear and dread Okay, that Yahweh Bashim Shai placed upon us. And this is going to happen again. This is a prelude, man. Okay, this is Psalm 18, verse 43. It says, thou hast delivered me from the strivings of the people, and thou hast made me the head of the heathen. You see, thou hast made me, that, mind you, this is the throne of David. This is a psalm of David. He said, thou hast made me the head of the heathen. That word head is Ra'ash. All right, that word means like chief. Okay, thou hast made me the head of the heathen. Okay, head, top, summit, upper part, chief, total, sum, height, front, beginning. See, chief, head, best choice, head division, right? It says, thou hast made me the head of the heathen. A people whom I have not known shall serve me. You see that? And when you serve somebody, typically you are adhering to their ways. Just as we had to serve our enemies, chiefly Esau, he pretty much forcefully converted us. You know, going into the time, what was the Hellenization of the Jews all about? That was pretty much like a forced conversion, especially during the time of, I mean, it really was before Antiochus, but it was heavily, I'd rather say, during the time of Antiochus Epiphanes and in the Greek Empire. We were Hellenized. We had to forcefully convert to the Greek fashion and the Greek way. And it even got to the point, whereas when you read the book of Maccabees, it even got to the point of death. If you didn't adhere, it was to the point whereas you will be put to death. Okay? And it says, a people whom I have not known shall serve me. You see? And this people whom I have not known is talking about the actual heathen. Mind you, this is a prelude to the throne of David, which Yahweh Shai HaMashiach himself is going to sit upon. All right, that word serve is ibad, and when you read it in the context, it says ya ibad, ya ibad nawaya. Ya ibad wanaya. Excuse me, ya ibad wanya. Okay, shall serve me. A people whom I have not known shall serve me. Okay. When you get it, it says serve as subjects. You see that? To serve as subjects. What is a subject? Sub meaning under, ject meaning rule. The nations are going to be under the rule of who? The Israelites. Just at that time, you know, Ahasuerus was the king. You know, he was the Persian king. We were still to a degree subject underneath the Persians and the Medes due to prophecy. You see, or the Medes and the Persians, I'd rather say, because the Medes came up first and then the Persians came up second. You see, due to prophecy, but the Spirit of the Lord had worked. All right, with the Ahasuerus, he was the king of the Persia at that time. You see, to what? To exalt us at that time. Now, was we fully in power? No. Okay, so it says serve as subjects. It says usually with accusative, their own chiefs or kings. You see that? So their own chiefs and their own kings had to what? Come under the rule of what? Of King David. He beat the heathen small. You see? This is nothing more than a prelude of what the kingdom of heaven is going to be, is going to be, man. 2 Chronicles 20 and let's start at verse 25. And we're going to read down. It says, and when Jehoshaphat and his people came to take away the spoil of them, they found among them in abundance both riches with dead bodies and precious jewels, which they stripped off for themselves, more than they could carry away. And they were 3 days in gathering of the spoil. And they were 3 days in gathering of the spoil. It was so much. So they was gathering for 3 days straight. It was nothing but dead bodies and goods and spoils. And they was gathering the riches together and spoiling and booty, pretty much taking booty for 3 days. And when I say taking booty, I'm talking about taking goods, right? Verse 26. And with those goods comes also too women as well, right? And on the 4th day, they assembled themselves in the valley of Barakah. I wonder if that word is Barak, maybe. In the valley of Barakah. Barakah. Goes back to Barak, maybe. Barakah. Blessing. Yeah, there you go. It sounded like it. It sounded like it, right? It says, for there they blessed Yahweh, right? Therefore the name of the same place was called the Valley of Barakah unto this day, the Valley of Blessing, right? Then they returned, every man of Judah and Jerusalem, and Jehoshaphat in the forefront of them, to go again to Jerusalem with joy, for Yahweh had made them to rejoice over their enemies, right? It says, and they came to Jerusalem with psalteries and harps and trumpets into the house of Yahweh. And here's the point, and the fear of the Most High was on all the kingdoms of those countries. The fear of the Most High was on all the kingdoms of those countries. The fear of the Most High. That word fear is what? It says you have in the context, you have why Yahya, because like and, right? Why and why Yahya, because you got Haya. Fear, pachad, right? That word is pachad. Okay? Dread before Yahweh, which he placed that dread upon our enemies. Dread before Yahweh. Often, not always, terrifying. Unfitting for action. You see that? The dread and terror was upon all, due to the Lord being with us. The fear of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, was placed on our enemies due to how we were going through and conquering. And you see, we're gonna get a few precepts in that in Deuteronomy 2. It says, and the fear of the Most High was on all the kingdoms of those countries when they had heard that Yahweh fought against the enemies of Israel, just as the time in the book of Esther, man. You see, the heathen feared. You see, due to the Lord being with us and reversing that verdict, and the king making a decree, all the nations round about feared. So they was like, you know what, hey, we're gonna adhere, we're gonna adhere to what they saying. That doesn't mean that they became Israelites, man. Okay, it's impossible for somebody of another nation, of another nationality, I'd rather say, literally they could be a Moabite, an actual heathen, to just become an Israelite. You can't do that. It don't work that way. You see, it don't work that way. Just because I want to, I can't become Michael Jordan's heir. It don't work that way. It don't make sense. You know, Micah, I think it's Micah 7. Let's see. Right. This is Micah chapter 7, verse 16. It says, the nations shall see and be confounded at all their might. And this is talking about whenever we get the power. You see, whenever Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai gives us elect power, the nations round about are going to be confounded at the might that the Lord is going to give us, the power, right? It says, they shall lay their hand upon their mouth, their ears shall be deaf. You see, it says they will cover their mouth and silence all deafs and everything around them. They're going to see New Jerusalem coming out of heaven, us in those glorified bodies. And when I say coming out of heaven, meaning coming out of the chariots, man. You know, with transformed bodies, immortal bodies, all power, pretty much us being gods, man. And the nations, but here it is. How are the nations going to be? How are the nations? This is for you Christians that like to try to go into the Old Testament now. Now you want to try to go into the Old Testament. How is the nations going to be confounded at the might that the Lord's going to give his people? I thought they were going to be involved in this too. I thought they were going to be involved in this power and might as well. Verse 17, it says, they shall lick the dust like a serpent. They shall move out of their holes like the worms of the earth. See that? Because you're going to have the elite that are going to be trying to hide in the bunkers, and they're going to try to hide from the fear of the Lord. For fear of the Lord, they're going to hide, right? They shall be afraid of Yahweh our power, and shall fear because of who? Because of thee, because of you. They're going to fear at the presence of you. You see? And that's how they're going to fear the Lord. They're going to fear the Lord through you. Okay? Forceful conversion. Forcefully being converted. Okay? Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 24. It says, rise ye up. It says, rise ye up, take your journey, and pass over the river Arnon. Behold, I have given unto thine hand Sihon the Amorite, king of Heshbon, and his land, begin to possess it and contend with him in battle. See that? And Sihon was a known king, all right, during the time whenever we left the land of Egypt and we were in the wilderness, making our travels to the land of Canaan, the promised land. We had to take out Sihon and Og, and many other different kings. But Sihon was a king of well renowned at that time, right? Verse 25, this day will I begin to put the dread of thee and the fear of thee upon the nations that are under the whole heaven. Under the whole heaven. You see, it says, who shall hear report of thee and shall tremble and be in anguish because of thee. You see that? Same scenario situation that happened in Esther 8. That's why whenever we went to the land of Canaan to spy it out, Rahab the harlot was like, she feared. She's like, we heard what the Lord did for y'all in the land of Egypt, how he split the Red Sea for y'all to pass through and how he destroyed the Egyptians. We heard about that. And he's like, and she said, what? The people of the land, their hearts melt because of you. And that's going in for fear of you. You see? So vocab Malone and you big head ass Christians, man, you can't try to use Esther 8 and 17 because you don't understand that scripture. And you're completely wrong. Okay? So I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, B'Hashem Chakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders, a great millstone that taught us his truth and also teaching his truth. Much peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Until next time, Lord willing, I say shalom.